Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mike Swanson, editor of WallStreetWindow.com. Welcome back to the show, Mike.
Oh, it's great to talk to you. Pretty incredible time since we last spoke, that's for sure, with a lot of things coming alive in the commodity world.
Gold has really taken off. It's nearly $2,000 an ounce.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, and I know there's a lot of nervousness in people who have been invested in gold for a long time, gold, and also gold newsletter writers and so forth, people with a lot of experience in the industry, because we have seen many pullbacks over the years, and really this is the most gold has gone up this quickly. It was below 1,500 on the bottom of March, and now, as you mentioned, it's close to 2,000. It hit 1975 yesterday. So people are looking for pullbacks, but I gotta say, I think, yeah, there will be pullbacks here and there, but I don't think we're gonna get a sizable pullback for the rest of the year in gold and the mining stocks and so forth. Instead, I think we're likely to see pauses, dips of say 2 or 3 days or so, and then just mere pauses. And two reasons why. One is, this is sort of how markets have been trading since 2008 that have been in bull markets. The NASDAQ up until this year would just basically most of the time, or it would have years where it went up quite a lot and would just pause instead of, fall a whole lot. And more importantly, though, to me, this move is very similar to the start of a big bull market in the metals complex, like what happened between 2002 and 2003. In 2003, silver broke out, and the small cap mining stocks really started to go up. Gold had been going up really starting the fall of 2001, but really a year and a half later, these other things, smaller cap stocks, silver took off, and now that is finally starting to happen. And if you look at that bull market of the 2000s for the metals, you would see gold and silver go up 6 to 12 months in these big bull market legs up and just have pauses. And then you'd get the big corrections that people are thinking is going to happen soon. But I think this is the start of a big leg up that could last into the end of the year. So I think it's a real exciting time for sure. And I'm thankful to be able to talk with you and your listeners, and they got good places to go, Howe Street and so forth too.
Silver is also on the move, but still lagging behind gold by quite a bit. Do you expect a big charge in silver?
Well, I think that's what we're starting to see. On a percentage basis, silver has been going up more than gold over the past, say, 6 weeks. Gold, of course, has made a new high. It's gone through the highs of 2011 and 12. Silver is still way below that high, but I think it's going to start catching up to reaching that high that was set 8 years ago, or over 8 years ago. So I think it's pretty exciting. I saw, of course, it's going to be different since 2 days have gone by, but 2 days ago I saw a statistic that said that the Dow is down a little bit for the year, the S&P 500 about 2%, the NASDAQ up 15%, which gets all the attention in the United States, the NASDAQ and these tech stocks, but silver was up 60%. These are all year-to-date figures. So, silver is having a tremendous percentage gain rally, year-to-date. So at some point it will start to catch people's attention.
We'll have more with Mike Swanson right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Swanson. Mike, the U.S. Fed says it's going to hold rates at 0 to 0.25% for the rest of the year. What does that do to the markets?
Well, I think it's one of the main drivers for the metals markets, and it's going to weaken the U.S. dollar, which has been in a sharp decline now since it peaked in March. It's almost alarming. But I think it's going to fuel people into the metals. As far as the U.S. stock market, I think we're in a real interesting situation. On one hand, I see a lot of warning signs that the rally is losing steam. And one reason why is rallies like this typically have three phases to them. At the beginning, everything goes up. And what goes up the most actually tends to be the crappiest stocks that are heavily shorted of companies that are even questionable or could even go bankrupt. And we saw that with, say, airlines, cruise lines, bankrupt companies like Hertz. They all went completely crazy. And then most of these stocks actually peaked out in June and haven't been doing well. And that's when that first phase ends. In the second phase, big cap stocks really take over and lead the markets higher. And that's what we've seen, Amazon's, Google's, Facebook's, and so forth. These stocks became the leadership in the market. Stocks like Amazon, they started to go up at a 45-degree angle from May to July. But then this month, a lot of these stocks had big, reversal days and are still off their highs. And there's a phrase, when the generals get shot, watch out. That's the sign of an end of a rally. And that appears to have happened, across the board of these stocks. So the stock market is, normally I would say, look, we're in this market. Well, I do think this is the case. There's better reward in the metals markets and mining stocks, but I think the stock market, is in some sort of topping process. It could end up declining going into the end of the year. As I've said in past interviews with you, the very skeptical of the idea that we have a V bottom, and if anything, the economic data seems to suggest that the recovery from the reopening in the United States has already faded a month ago. For example, in Las Vegas, every single week since the reopening day week of the first week of June, there's been less people going. Boyd Entertainment announced earnings yesterday and said they have 11% revenue being made from gambling than a year ago. But the positive or thing that can prevent, let's say, the stock market from crashing, or even having a huge decline like what happened in the fall of 2000, is the fact that the Federal Reserve, as you said, has rates not only pegged at zero, but is promising to engage in more bond buybacks. And that's the thing that didn't happen in the fall of 2000, the fall of 2008. The bond market and the corporate bond market went down, just as bad as the stock market. In fact, I would almost argue that it helped drag the stock market down. Well, I don't think that's going to be the case now because the Fed is propping all these things up. There'll be consequences of that with a decline in the dollar, more inflation at some point in the future. So I think people can trade the stock market if they focus on these right stocks. It's a tough game, honestly. It's, and I know a lot of new traders have gotten into trading for the first time, and it takes, the game getting tough or losing money to realize how tough it can be. But it's just much easier, in my view, to make money in gold and precious metals and the mining stocks at this point because they're in much stronger bull markets, and they got all these negative things I mentioned are going to help them go up for years. And what I'm actually looking at for buys, because I've got enough investments in the metals that I need, is looking outside gold and silver for other commodities that haven't yet gone up, and even other types of mineral stocks and material stocks that haven't really taken off yet. And there's a whole world out there. And one thing I'm keeping an eye on is the agriculture commodities. They've been in a bear market for years. They have yet to even go above their 150-day and 200-day moving averages. If you look at the agriculture commodity ETFs like DBA and RGA, they got a chance to rally if they can break out of their May highs and then see, what can happen. And there are agriculture stocks, big cap ones that might go up. So that's kind of what I got my eye on at the moment.
We'll have more with Mike Swanson right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Swanson. What's going on with crude?
Well, crude is the one part of the commodities world that I'm not that excited about at the moment. Because it's more impacted by the U.S. domestic economy, the global economy, which is obviously, still a horrible recession or depression. And historically, in a commodity cycle, gold and silver go up first, then other precious metals, and then agriculture and soft commodities begin new bull markets. They haven't done that yet. And then oil does it last. And often with a 2-year lag from when gold and silver go up. So that doesn't mean oil is going to collapse, but I just don't think now immediately is the time. But it's something I got my eye on for sure because, energy stocks, they pay good dividends. The whole thing crashed. The energy complex completely crashed in March. And some energy companies will go bankrupt. There's from everything that's happened, but there's a lot of them that won't, that pay big dividends, and they're still probably worth people investing in and doing the research to figure out which ones are the ones that got the cash to stay no matter what happens. I don't really have a list of them or done the research. The only one I can name off the top of my head for sure is Exxon because they've, raised so much billions of dollars in March issuing bonds of their own to weather out, whatever happens to the economy.
Bitcoin, do you see much action there?
Well, people I know love Bitcoin, or some people really love Bitcoin. It's managed to go above 11,000 in the past couple days, and it looked like it was getting ready to fall and test its recent lows, which would be very negative for it. But I'm not certain. I'm not a big believer in it. I want to be convinced that it can really go up like gold and silver in a real way over the next decade. I need to see it perform better than the U.S. stock market and do better than the U.S. stock market when the stock market drops. Bitcoin has never been able to do that. And whereas gold, when the stock market fell in March, the S&P fell over 35%. The price of gold fell just less than 15%. And now it's going up more than the stock market. I like to invest in things that fall less than the stock market when it drops and go up more when the stock market goes up. Bitcoin does not do that, and it's never done it. And until it does, I'm never going to buy it ever. And frankly, I just think, I'm not a believer in it. To me, it's virtual currency, and it doesn't make sense from an investment standpoint. If I'm going to invest in something, I don't own Exxon, but if someone said buy Bitcoin or Exxon, I would put my money in Exxon, because you're buying a share of a stock. You have an interest in a company. It's going to it pays a dividend. And if Exxon got bought out or something, you're a part of that. With Bitcoin, you're not a part of anything but hoping it goes up and down. It'll never pay a dividend. And, gold and silver have been here since, the beginning of recorded human history. It's real. What is Bitcoin? Some people say it's going to change the world. It hasn't done it yet. Gold doesn't need to change the world. It is what it is, and that's why I invested in it.
Mike, you are the first to point out what people are now referring to as Robin Hooders. The millennials who decided, I'm sitting around the house not doing anything. Why don't I start trading? How has that phenomena played out?
Well, it's quite interesting. The Wall Street Journal did an article this weekend talking about it. There's been like 4 or 5 of these articles over the past 2 or 3 months, and the average age of these people is 33 years old, and they have a trading account on average worth $3,000. But what's interesting is the stocks they're buying, because Robinhood gives you a list of the top 100 positions, even tells you how many of their customers are in it. And it's dominated by simply stocks that went up a lot in March or in April and May. And now the stocks aren't doing that good. Stocks like Hertz, the airlines, cruise lines, and so forth. And, there isn't this, I didn't look this morning, but yesterday night I looked, and there wasn't a single mining stock or gold or metals ETF in that top 100 list. So what this tells me is there's a whole pool of people out there that aren't in gold and silver, and they're prone to chase momentum. So at some point, I think we'll see some of these people trickle in to the metals world, and I think similar types of traders were a big part of the cannabis stock boom of a couple years ago. I don't really think it's going on this year, but somewhat it was continued last year. I think that's gravitating into the small cap mining stocks, and I think the Robinhood people will at some point start to do the same. But the fact that there's not a single one, gold or silver thing on their top 100 list tells me that, that's the reason I don't believe it's going to top out, anytime soon. And it's still way early into the game.
Do you think the U.S. federal government might legalize pot because they're desperate for money now?
Yeah, I think it would be on a state-by-state basis. I mean, we've seen a little bit of that in some places like Colorado and California, Nevada. I don't know what all of them are. It's like half a dozen, but I think it's like gambling. The states, one by one over the past 10 years have really legalized gambling, and now they're even starting to legalize sports betting on apps, and they're doing it for the revenue. And most likely, you would think that they'll do the same with marijuana over the next couple of years, or cannabis, however you like to call it.
Yeah, I don't know. Officials tend to like to call it cannabis for some reason, whereas the guy in the street's going to call it pot or weed.
Yeah, I call it dope, but whenever I do that, I make people mad. I'm not trying to be insulting. It's just what I've always called it as when I was a child, because anyway, I don't like to smoke it too much. It makes you dopey.
Yeah, and him, I think my mom called it wacky tobacco. Mike, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you. Great to talk with you.
My guest has been Mike Swanson, editor of WallStreetWindow.com. If you have any questions for Mike or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HouseStreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.